Can you imagine a world where these disasters never happened? Today, we embark on a profound journey through the annals of history to explore 6 of the most monumental disasters that have ever occurred. These events were selected not merely for their immediate destruction but for their vast impacts on humanity and their undeniable historical significance. Each disaster we will discuss stands as a stark reminder of the fragility of human life and the indomitable strength of the human spirit in the face of overwhelming adversity. From the rampant spread of the Black Death in the 14th century, which decimated populations across continents, to the heart-wrenching destruction caused by the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami, these catastrophic events have reshaped societies and altered the course of history. They remind us of the power of nature and the often tragic side effects of human error and technological failure. Join us as we delve into the chaos and recovery of these monumental moments in history. It began with a few dying rats, but it ended up wiping out a third of Europe's population. The Black Death, a grim specter of death, made its initial appearance in Asia. Originating from the steppes of Central Asia, it traveled along the bustling Silk Road, making its deadly voyage to the Crimea by the mid-14th century. From there, it hitched a ride on merchant ships heading to Europe, carrying with it fleas infected with the plague bacterium Yersinia pestis. As these ships docked in Sicilian ports in 1347, the plague disembarked and began its terrifying sweep across Europe. At a time when medical knowledge was rudimentary at best, understanding of diseases was clouded by superstition and fear. This lack of medical insight allowed the Black Death to ravage populations unchecked, with towns and cities seeing up to 60% of their inhabitants perish. The societal impact was profound. With the workforce drastically reduced, labor shortages became rampant, leading to significant shifts in economic structures and social hierarchies. Feudal systems began to wane as serfs demanded more rights and better wages, leading to peasant revolts and an eventual restructuring of medieval society. Moreover, the sheer scale of mortality and societal disruption led to a profound transformation in European thought, influencing art, religion, and the collective consciousness of the surviving population. The Black Death not only decimated populations, but also sparked significant social and economic transformations. On All Saints' Day, 1755, the earth shook Lisbon to its core, both literally and metaphorically. It was a quiet morning that turned disastrous when, without warning, a massive earthquake struck. Historians estimate its magnitude at about 9 on the Richter scale, a colossal force that left few structures standing in its wake. The initial shock was just the beginning. As the dust settled, an enormous tsunami, spawned by the underwater tremors, raced towards the city's shore. Waves, reportedly 40 feet high, crashed over the docks and swept through the lower districts. In a cruel twist of fate, many who had fled to the seafront for safety from collapsing buildings were caught in the deluge. But the calamity didn't end with the water's retreat. Fires ignited across the city, fueled by overturned candles in the churches where many had been attending All Saints' Day Mass. These fires raged for 5 days, completing the destruction that the earthquake and tsunami had begun. Lisbon, once a bustling hub of commerce and culture at the heart of a vast empire, was almost entirely destroyed. The disaster killed tens of thousands and left the city in ruins, sparking intense philosophical and theological debates across Europe. Thinkers like Voltaire and Rousseau pondered the implications of such a disaster in a supposedly ordered universe, challenging prevailing notions of divine providence and justice. This catastrophic event also prompted the birth of modern seismology as scientists sought to understand the forces that had wrought such devastation. The Lisbon quake was not just a tragedy but a catalyst for the Enlightenment and modern seismology. A symbol of industrial might and luxury, the Titanic, was deemed unsinkable until nature claimed otherwise. In the early 20th century, the RMS Titanic represented the pinnacle of human engineering and opulence. It was a floating palace, equipped with the most advanced technological innovations of its time, including watertight compartments and an elaborate wireless telegraph system. This majestic liner was constructed in Belfast, with no expense spared in making it both grand and unsinkable. The Titanic embarked on its maiden voyage from Southampton to New York City on April 10, 1912, filled with over 2,200 passengers and crew. Among them were some of the wealthiest people in the world, alongside immigrants dreaming of a new life in America. The atmosphere was one of celebration and unmatched luxury, with every comfort available. However, the dream voyage turned into a nightmare late on the night of April 14th. The ship struck an iceberg in the frigid waters of the North Atlantic. The collision tore a gash in the Titanic's starboard side, and the unsinkable ship was doomed. Panic ensued as it became clear that there were not enough lifeboats for everyone on board. The ship carried only 20 lifeboats, enough for about half of those on board. Over 1,500 lives were lost in the icy waters that night, a catastrophic loss that shook the world. The disaster led to significant changes in maritime laws, including improved lifeboat requirements and ice patrol services. The Titanic disaster reshaped maritime safety standards and remains a poignant reminder of human vulnerability. In 1986, the world witnessed the worst nuclear disaster in history at Chernobyl. It was on April 26 that the Chernobyl nuclear power plant in Ukraine, then part of the Soviet Union, experienced a catastrophic explosion during a late-night safety test in Reactor 4. This explosion released a cloud of radioactive material into the atmosphere, which spread over much of Europe. The events leading up to the disaster were marked by a series of critical errors made by plant operators. They disregarded safety protocols, and power levels in the reactor surged wildly out of control. The resulting steam explosion and fires released a lethal cocktail of radioactive isotopes into the sky. Immediately following the explosion, emergency responders rushed to the scene, unaware of the full extent of the danger. The initial lack of information and the Soviet government's delay in acknowledging the event worsened the situation. It took 36 hours before the nearby town of Pripyat was evacuated, a delay that exposed thousands more to dangerous levels of radiation. In the aftermath, the area around Chernobyl became known as the exclusion zone, a 30-kilometer radius largely uninhabitable due to high contamination levels. Long-term health effects, including thyroid cancer and leukemia, increased significantly among those exposed to the fallout. The environment still bears the scars, with mutations and increased radiation levels observed in plant and animal life. This disaster prompted a global re-evaluation of nuclear safety standards and policies, leading to stricter regulations and changes in reactor design to prevent similar incidents. Chernobyl stands as a grim warning of the potential dangers of nuclear power when safety is compromised. December 26, 2004 started like any other day in the Indian Ocean region, but it ended in unprecedented tragedy. Early that morning, an undersea earthquake with a magnitude of 9.1 struck off the coast of Sumatra, Indonesia. This immense seismic event was one of the most powerful ever recorded, and it set off a series of devastating tsunamis that raced across the Indian Ocean at speeds exceeding 500 miles per hour. The massive waves reached heights of up to 30 feet, crashing over coastal defenses and sweeping away everything in their path. The hardest hit were the coastal communities of Indonesia, Thailand, Sri Lanka, and even as far away as the eastern coast of Africa. Homes, businesses, and entire neighborhoods were obliterated, leaving behind nothing but debris and devastation. In Indonesia alone, the province of Aceh bore the brunt of the disaster. Entire villages were wiped off the map, and tens of thousands of lives were lost in moments. The scale of destruction was so vast that it was difficult to comprehend. Over 230,000 people were killed, making this one of the deadliest natural disasters in recorded history. In the aftermath, the world came together in a monumental humanitarian effort. Aid poured in from every corner of the globe, and the tragedy highlighted the need for a better tsunami warning system. This led to the establishment of improved and more effective disaster preparedness and response mechanisms across the globe. The 2004 tsunami tragedy resulted in a united global effort to improve disaster preparedness and response systems. These disasters, though devastating, taught us invaluable lessons. From the rampant spread of the Black Death in the 14th century, which drastically reduced the global population and altered the course of European history, to the unexpected fury of the Great Lisbon earthquake in 1755, which not only shook the earth, but also the philosophical foundations of the Enlightenment era. Each catastrophe has left a distinct mark. The chilling waters that claimed the Titanic in 1912 underscored humanity's hubris and led to improved maritime safety laws. Similarly, the Chernobyl disaster in 1986 awakened the world to the dire consequences of nuclear negligence, prompting reforms in safety protocols worldwide. In 24, the Indian Ocean tsunami, one of the deadliest natural disasters in recorded history, catalyzed the development of better tsunami warning systems, emphasizing the critical need for global cooperation in disaster response and preparedness. History teaches us through tragedy, but also inspires us to build a more resilient and prepared world. Can we heed the lessons of the past to safeguard our future?